Today, we're looking at Krishna's Sea and Storm. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, Krishna's Sea and Storm is a purple ink. To make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I put the ink into a different pen for a day. I then put it into a Noodler's Nib Creeper to take my notes for this video. Now, before we get to the writing samples, let's look at the sciencey bits. Up first is the chromatography, and I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it in the water for 10 to 15 seconds. And this is interesting because we see this darker purple across the bottom. It pushes up lighter, it becomes darker as it moves up, but there is that initial into the filter paper. And then we get this very dark, rich blue across the top. The one on the right, I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. Now the purple we see across the bottom looks different than the purple we see that has pushed its way up. It looks like a very vivid blue, where it looks like a very vivid purple with some of the blue. The same dark purple pushes up, and then that same dark blue across the top. This is interesting in how much is mixed in blues and purples to create this very unique purple color. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it might be to clean from your pens. Now, I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, it handles itself very well. That extra fine becomes about a fine, but there's no blowout, no blurriness. You can read everything that's there. It makes you feel safe using it as a note taker. Water is taking all of the darkest tones off this paper, and it's leaving plenty of the blue behind. Pen flush isn't doing much more than water. It basically might as well be water. It's not moving it. I'm afraid you're going to need to use the 1/3 bleach solution for this. And when you use a 1/3 bleach solution, you put it into your pen and immediately get it out and flush that pen with water. And you might have to repeat that, as I did, to get this ink entirely out of your pen. Now, the 1/3 bleach solution is completely removing it from the paper. I'm not afraid to use this because of some of the staining that can occur. Just know that it's going to take a little bit more effort to completely clean it out of your pen and converter. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, with a realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Krishna's Sea and Storm has a viscosity of 3.27, making it a very dry ink. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples done with the extra fine and medium nib on Clairefontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Krishna's Sea and Storm has an average dry time of 10 seconds. So with being a very dry ink, it also dries very quickly. Now, let's look at the writing samples. I picked this ink up in sample form. I picked this ink up in bottle form when I ordered a whole bunch of inks from Krishna. It was like right before they got discovered by everybody, and a whole bunch of their inks that are fantastic seem to go by the wayside. This is not a bad ink. If I could have had it in a sample form first, I probably would not have gotten a bottle. But because the bottle was what was really available to me at the time with ordering, I ordered it. It's not horrible. It's just not necessarily the color I would go for, and not even being purple. This tone of purple. To keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairefontaine. We get no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo sheen. It offers some very lovely shading. It gives some of the best color of this ink also. Like in well, other than look at how horrible I got all messed up writing C. But that aside, looking at Storm, you see it goes from that really nice lighter purple to the darker purple, back to lighter, back to very dark on the M. I wish it could do that all the time. If it did that all the time, this would be a perfect purple ink. It's just not doing it all the time. The extra fine is a significantly darker tone than the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo sheen. It still offers some very nice shading, but this is going to be like where some of the shading really ends. Jumps starts very light, beautiful purple, works its way very dark, and I don't mind it that dark when it starts light. Over starts as a nice mid-tone, becomes very dark. The is a super dark tone, and unfortunately much more what we see in a lot of its writing samples. It only took 7 seconds to dry. Now medium is a significantly darker tone than the extra fine. It has no feather, spread, halo sheen, and no shading. 9 seconds to dry. Little dark for me, because it's got those moments that you might forget it's purple. 9 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation, although in the extra fine we did get some color variation, and the smear test, you could recover this if you smeared while you were writing. Tomoe River. No bleeding, plenty of ghosting. The 1.1 has a beautiful tone, beautiful purple, amazing. It has no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shading. The extra fine is a darker tone than the 1.1. The extra fine has no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade, 12 seconds to dry. And medium gets to be a much, much darker tone than even the extra fine. The medium has no feather, spread, halo sheen, or shade, 15 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it and we didn't get it. And a smear test you could not recover if you smeared while you were writing. Rhodia. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1, it's a very nice, like the 1.1, the stub with this ink does very well. The others I'm not caring for, but the 1.1, beautiful tone. No feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, and no shade, but a beautiful purple. The extra fine is a bit darker than the 1.1. It's about 3 tones darker. It has no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade, 7 seconds to dry. The medium is significantly darker than the extra fine. It has no feather, spread, halo sheen, or shade, 11 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation where it looks a little lighter. That's the white of the page coming through, not really the ink. Yeah. And the smear test, no color variation, and we got none. And the smear test, you could recover this if you smeared while you were writing. So P. Berger paper, it's a student paper, French ruled. And the 1.1 didn't do bad. The extra fine didn't do bad. The medium did absolutely horrible. You would not be able to use the back of the page if you wrote in the medium like this. The extra fine looked perfectly fine. You could use the back of the page. It does not touch the page underneath, so it doesn't bleed all the way through the paper, just significantly into the paper. The 1.1 still gives that beautiful tone. It has no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shading. The extra fine is a little darker than the 1.1. The extra fine has no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shading, 3 seconds to dry. The medium is significantly darker than the extra fine. It has no feather, spread, halo sheen, or shade, 5 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation, and we got none. And the smear test, you could definitely recover this if you smeared while you were writing. So this is Strathmore calligraphy paper. It's very nice laid paper. It has no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1, still beautiful, beautiful tone. It has no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shading. The extra fine is slightly darker. It's only like 1 or 2 tones darker than the 1.1. The extra fine has no feather, spread, halo sheen, and no shading. 5 seconds to dry. The medium is significantly darker. It's that you kind of forget that it's purple, so dark. The medium has no feather, spread, halo sheen, or shade. It took 8 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both showed us no color variation. We didn't expect it. We didn't get it. And the smear test, you could recover this if you smeared while you were writing. So next up is Hazel Paper. Now these I ordered when I ordered all the paper. I ordered some of their notebooks. and their notebooks have been fantastic. The Noonday Brocade Pocketbook from Hazel. It is a toothier paper, but it performs super well with every ink I put on it. In a Hazel, we get no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1, beautiful tone, absolutely beautiful. No feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shading. The extra fine is quite a bit darker than the 1.1. Still a beautiful tone here. No feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, 4 seconds to dry. The medium becomes a significantly darker tone, again to that darker that you almost can forget that it's a purple. The medium has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade. The scrubby for both show us no color variation, and we got none. In a smear test, you'd probably be able to recover this if you smeared while you were writing, and that is all that I have for the writing sample. Instead of finding inks that look like Krishna's Sea and Storm, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. And I was really thinking of the Joker at this point. I like putting purples and greens together because it reminds me of him so much. I chose Robert Oster's Green Lime because I thought it was funny. Before I give my opinion on this ink, I would ask, if you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if it's your first time here, I would invite you to subscribe. So what do I think of Krishna's Sea and Storm? Well, in a wet pen, it can come across as a little too dark a purple for me. In a medium flow, this is a gorgeous, absolutely amazing purple color. And with drier pens, to me, it gets even better. So with this, like many inks that have the ability to change their tone depending on the flow of the pen, choose the flow of the pen that's going to make this the purple that you would like it to be, because this is absolutely a gorgeous purple ink. Thanks for watching.